In an age where everyone is using the same AI writing tools and the same prompts, if you have a strong brand voice that you can use to guide your own writing or that of other writers, you could also use it to train the AI that you're using so its output is much more in line with your own brand voice. So it begs the question, can't you get AI to do it for you? Hi everyone, excited to be here with you today. My name is Bidani and welcome to today's lesson where we're going to dive into building a brand voice by taking a look at what those building blocks are that make up a strong, differentiated brand voice. Now, some marketers care deeply about brand voice and others not so much. And I know this might sound a little cliche, but brand voice today is more important than ever. And here's why. Take, for example, this pop-up ad I got the other day for Avast antivirus software. I don't work for any of these companies, so these are all I'm doing is on speculation, but it's just to help prove this point. So the ad reads, saying back to school, Avast has got you. No matter if you're starting a new year or you're done and never going back, Avast has got something to help you prepare or celebrate your freedom. Great. This is a nice little ad that's targeting a wide audience from teens to young adults, both of maybe going back to school or college, and those who might have just wrapped up their studies. The tone is warm and supportive, and above all, friendly. It's a good choice for Avast, both in terms of their industry, product they're selling, and their target audience. Now let's take a look at Oatly, for example. Oatly, adored by marketers everywhere, is famous for their humorous, playful, and casual brand voice with this headline and copy. It's like milk, but made for humans. And the body copy goes on to say, so what is this oat drink anyway? Milk? No, it's not milk. I'm not going to read out the whole ad for you though. But what Oatly did here was definitely not adopt a safe choice for the target audience like Avast. But they're also in a very different industry, are selling a different product, and have a vastly different target audience. And their in-your-face, unapologetic voice helps them stand out. But what if we were to take Oatly's brand voice and use it to write for Avast? So like I said before, this is a spec ad that I just whipped up by applying Oatly's brand voice to Avast ad. So instead of what we had before, back to school, Avast has got you, we now have antivirus, antivirus, antivirus. Doesn't matter how you say it, but you do need it. Unless you don't care about getting hacked in those photos, you know which one's getting leaked on social media. And when you compare both ads, the differences stand out even more. So while both ads are for the same company, brand voice absolutely has a huge impact on what you say in your copy and content, as well how you say it, and that impression that it leaves on your target audience as a result. Let's take another example. Apple. If I had $1 for every time I saw a social media post that says, we want to, or you should write like Apple, I probably wouldn't need to write copy anymore for a living. But what kind of brand voice could we rewrite this ad in? Why not Raid? Raid is a popular anti-bug spray in the US, and their tone of voice is short, powerful, authoritative, and straight to the point. They take a really hardline stance, being strong and effective, because that's what they want you to believe about their product as well. And their tagline for years has been, kills bugs dead. So let's see what happens when we apply Raid's brand voice to Apple's ad copy. So instead of privacy, that's iPhone, we now have protect your phone to protect yourself. Definitely a lot more hardline approach. It's meant to sound strong and effective, which is what Raid is getting at. But see how when we moved from one brand voice to another, we lost some of those identifiers, the essence of the original brand. We lost a little bit of what Apple stands for and what we associate with it by writing for the same company, the same product in a different brand voice. And this is exactly why brand voice is so important. Having a strong brand voice can help you stand out among competitors by making your marketing assets much more distinctive, making them easier to recognize and remember and associate with your brand as a result. At the same time, having a strong brand voice helps create a dialogue with your audience. It sparks and encourages specific emotions, which are then reflected onto your company. So creating a clear brand voice guidelines is something that every marketer should be doing. But of course, this begs the question, if you're not a brand voice expert yourself, can't you get AI to do it for you? The simple answer is yes, of course you could. But there are two critical things that you need to consider. And in an age where everyone is using the same AI writing tools and the same prompts, if you have a strong brand voice that you can use to guide your own writing or that of other writers, You could also use it to train the AI that you're using so its output is much more in line with your own brand voice. So it begs the question, can't you get AI to do it for you? The simple answer is, of course you could. But there are two critical things that you need to consider. Number one, the vast majority of AI tools are really bad at developing a unique brand voice because they can only reference what the material they've been trained on. They're going to struggle to create something new that's totally different to what they already know is out there. And two, AI writing tools also struggle with applying brand voice consistently to different types of content, even if you've trained it on your brand voice guidelines. While you can get good output when you train your own AI tools on your brand voice guidelines, it still also needs a bit of tweaking as a result. Take into account as well, because everyone's using the same AI writing tools and the same prompts, all their brand voices are coming out more or less in the same. It doesn't matter if they say, make me sound funny, dumb this down for a fifth grade reading level, or make me sound more sophisticated, or make me sound more whatever adjective you want to add there. Everyone is using the same prompts and the same tools. And so everyone's brand voice is becoming more of the same. So while you could use AI to help you build out a brand voice, you can't rely on it alone to develop a really strong, clear, differentiated voice for you. If you do have clear brand voice guidelines, you can train your AI writing tool on them and you will get much more accurate output as a result. And having that strong, unique brand voice, as we mentioned, it's going to help you stand out and differentiate from competitors and make your copy and content much more compelling. While I'm not going to be able to teach you how to become a brand voice expert in the space of this feed, I can share with you the 4 building blocks of brand voice, what they are, why they're important, so that whether you have an existing brand voice but find it difficult to use, or whether you need to create one from scratch, you'll have a better idea of what you need to consider as you go about it. First up, we have personality. This is the foundational element of brand voice, and it reflects what kind of person or brand your company is as a whole. It's tied to that critical first impression that people have of the brand. So if you think of your brand as person, your visual identity is what you look like and what your brand is wearing. Your brand's voice personality is what your brand sounds like when they talk. It ties in highly with your company's vision, mission, manifesto, or narrative, and as well it ties in with your visual identity. For example, Harley-Davidson comes across as rebellious, rugged, as well as down-to-earth and highly spirited, whereas Old Spice comes across as humorous and fun-loving. The second building block of brand voice is tone. Tone is best described as the kind of mood that your brand is in at the moment of writing any ad or piece of content. So while you might have core personality, your mood can vary depending on what topic you're writing about, which audience you're talking to, and in which channel you're communicating. For example, are you excited because you're announcing a new funding round and you're using a slightly more upbeat language and maybe some exclamation marks or a couple of emojis in your content? Are you deeply reflective on some changes that are happening in the market? Or are you speaking to a US-based audience who are generally okay with hardline selling approaches? Or are you speaking to a European audience who strongly dislike hardline selling and you need to adapt a softer approach? Those considerations are what fall under tone. The next is rhythm. Rhythm is the pace, aka how fast or slow your brand talks and any other language patterns it uses. So think how long or short your sentences are and how many words go into each sentence. Are you short and punchy, long-winded and playful, or some kind of quirky mix of the two? That's up to you. Think, for example, how Apple puts periods or full stops in unexpected places to give stronger emphasis on each part, such as privacy, stop, that's iPhone. Instead of one sentence, privacy, that's iPhone. Having that extra period or full stop in the middle makes Apple come across as short, punchy, and very impactful. Compare that, for example, to Oatly's very long and often run-on sentences. They put a lot of words into each sentence, making each sentence very long and very playful and long-winded. For example, we made this ad look like street art, so you would like it better than if it was just an ad. But if we were to take Apple's approach and we were to put some more pauses or some periods of full stops in between, it actually wouldn't sound like Oatly very much anymore. So if we were to read it and say, we made this ad look like a street ad, so you would like it better if it was just an ad. Notice how the pause there in the middle changes the feeling? That's exactly what we're doing with rhythm. And last but not least, we have vocabulary. These are the actual words that you choose to use repeatedly so that they become hallmarks of your brand as a result. Say, for example, you want to say that your software works fast. So should you say fast though? Are competitors saying fast? Maybe you want to say speedy. Maybe you want to say rapid. Maybe you want to say swift. Notice how when you say each of those words out alone by themselves, they have a very different feeling to them, even though you could say that they're all synonyms and they all mean something moving fast or very quickly. But choosing which words has an impact on your audience. So swift is going to appeal to a more sophisticated audience, whereas speedy for a less sophisticated audience. Combined together, these four elements, personality, tone, rhythm, and vocabulary, help you create a super strong brand voice and brand voice guidelines that are easy for you to use, easy for others in your company or other writers to use. And then you can also use these guidelines to prompt or train AI writing tools so that the output they deliver is much more in line with your brand voice. Quick recap, what we covered today is why brand voice is critical, why you really need to do it yourself and not just outsource it to AI, and what are the 4 building blocks that you need to consider when starting to pull together your brand's voice. And if there are any other copywriting related topics you'd like to learn about, leave a comment or reach out to CXL and we might just make the next video about that.